So in the AFC, and if you listen to the podcast a couple weeks ago, I did with Zach and Chris, like I said, you'll run this podcast. Check it out, get a chance. It's worth it. 2.5 hours. You love football. Definitely a lot of minutia in there, especially on Chris's end. Chris knows what he's talking about. You would know that I have a sneaky suspicion that the Patriots are not dead yet, and I have the Patriots in the AFC East winning the AFC East. AFC North has the Baltimore Ravens repeating as champs. In the AFC South, I have the Tennessee Titans. I wasn't sure where I would go in the AFC South. It was between Tennessee and Houston and Indy. I know I had Indy on the under, but so I like Tennessee. I think the way they're building their team is really, really solid. I think if Ryan Tannehill has another great year, they could actually break through as the third team in the AFC. AFC West, of course, Kansas City Chiefs, not surprised there. They're the champs right now. They're playing as we speak on Thursday Night Football, and they're blowing out the Houston Texans. My wild cards, and remember, there are three now because this year, with the new amended playoff format, you now have 7 teams per conference. My wild cards are the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cleveland Browns. Now, with the Buffalo Bills, a lot of folks had the Bills win the division. I like that. And that's, that could be the case. I've said in the podcast 2 weeks ago that how well the Bills do this year is dependent on Josh Allen's progression. This is Josh Allen's third year, the quarterback, as the Bills. If he has a phenomenal year where he starts forming the top 10 quarterback, conversation, this team can win 12, 13 games this year. I can see that scenario playing out, and then they win the division. I do think it's more likely he'll play closer to the average, so I think the Bills will win at least 9 games on how you slice it, because their defense is really, really good, and they got enough weapons on the side to facilitate them at least being a 9-7 team at worst. We'll see. Steelers, of course, Big Ben's back. We'll see what happens with him. Big Ben Roethlisberger missed pretty much all last year, other than like 1.5 games, and they still went 8-8 despite having really poor quarterback play. So I think that there'll be a wild card team as well too. And I think the Cleveland Browns will get their shit together. I think they'll get their stuff together finally. Last year, disappointing year after coming in with all the hype. This is the year 3 for Baker Mayfield. And I think they will still, I think they actually will sneak in the playoffs. All right, as for the NFC East, Philadelphia Eagles. I think Eagles Cowboys battle out, but ultimately the Eagles, I think Carson Wentz will be healthy enough to carry on through. NFC North. I have the Minnesota Vikings taking it. I think the Green Bay Packers take a step back. And you'll see exactly what the Packers are why I think they're the most interesting team, actually, of the year moving forward. NFC South, the Tampa Brady Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers within the South. I think what they've done, obviously got Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and all those O.J. Howard tight ends, and obviously Mike Evans, and although he may not play week 1, we'll see. They got so many weapons on that side of the ball. If their O-line is even relatively decent, they should win at least 10, 11 games. And then I have the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC West, winning the West. My wild cards are the Dallas Cowboys, the Atlanta Falcons, and the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Cowboys, Dak, this is definitely a contract year for him to cash in, and he's not playing on the franchise tag as it is. I think he'll figure it out and force the Cowboys in our hand. The Falcons, I think, are going to be really good this year. I think the Falcons are going to, remember last year they went 7-9, started year 1-7, and then finished year 6-2. Play one. It was one of the biggest spoilers of the year last year. I think they will improve, and I think they'll play much better. I think they actually will get a wild card spot. And then the Niners, the defending NFC champions, will still make the playoffs. I think Garoppolo will play a little better this year. I think they'll take a little step back, but I think overall the Niners will be still pretty good, and they'll be as a wild card. As for the AFC Championship game, I have Kansas City Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl, winning over the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC. And then the NFC Championship, I have Seattle, the Seahawks, winning over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. And then Super Bowl 55, I have the Seattle Seahawks beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I think Russell Wilson will have an MVP year, and he'll be the Super Bowl MVP. I think Russell Wilson will be, obviously, he already is, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think once this year's over, I think this will be the year where we start there's no discussion. There's no pushback on that conversation anymore. I mean, none. Russell Wilson will be the guy. You know, obviously him and Mahomes are the two best quarterbacks in the league. And I think Russell Wilson will make a case to be at least in the conversation of discussion. And I think his Hall of Fame credentials will rise even more after this year. So there you go. There's my predictions for this year in the